Watch Ryan Hovis on Sultai Death Shadow against Reid Duke playing Jund. Hello everyone and welcome to the quarterfinals here in Baltimore. Cedric Phillips and Craig Krempels here in the booth. Nick Miller down in the feature match area as we prepare to watch Ryan Hovis on Sultai Death Shadow, your number 2 overall seed, against Reid Duke playing Jund, your number 7 overall seed. These two players have had a fantastic run thus far, and we see Hovis with an innovative take on Death Shadow against Reid and his old school approach to Jund. We're going to start things off here with a Verdant Catacombs into a Mirror's Bauble and a simple passing of the turn. Duke will play Blackleaf Cliffs, and he'll open things up with an Inquisition of Kozilek. Hovis will reveal his hand. You see a Swamp, a Verdant Catacombs, and a Polluted Delta. Those are lands that Duke cannot select, but there are some spells that he can take in Death's Shadow and Snapcaster Mage.
And we've seen this before, the bauble not being cracked right away. You know, protect an additional card from the discard spell.
Snapcaster Mage is going to bite the dust. One thing about Reid's deck list here this weekend, you can find this over on our coverage page for this tournament, as Hovis will activate his Bauble, sacrifice his fetch line. Now that fetch line's not going to go in his deck, so I want to make sure he gets that out of there.
Little mistake. We're sure they'll get that worked out.
Yep. He shuffled in Verdant Catacombs on accident, so we will make sure that he pulls that out. Accidentally shuffled it in. There we go. Problem solved.
Disaster averted.
Indeed, indeed. But Hovis is going to fall down to most likely 17. We'll see how low he wants to go as we update that life total, because again, he is playing Death Shadow. So we'll get confirmation there as we draw a card from the Bauble and draw a card for the turn.
And not a lot of action for him right now. Death Shadow, not there yet. The Snapcaster Mage got discarded, even though it wasn't going to be good for a while either.
Yeah, nothing to even bring back yet.
Yeah.
There's a Delta. There's a Bauble. And pass the turn back over to Duke. Duke will sacrifice a Verdant Catacombs. Going to fall down to at least 19. We'll see how low he wants to go.
Right, and after we saw Ryan's hand here, Reid could even just deploy a creature.
And be totally fine.
Yeah, a Goyf, a Dark Confidant would be the most ideal play. You know, a lot of times he wants to open up the game with multiple discard/removal spells, but his opponent has so little going on.
And the coast is clear for a 2-drop. There's a Scavenging Ooze. Coast is pretty clear for that one. We'll see if Hovis has picked up a removal spell or not. He will sacrifice Bauble. He'll target himself. Take a look at the top card. Looks like it was another land, so now he's going to sacrifice Polluted Delta. Actually put it in the graveyard this time. Well done, Ryan. And he will dig out a land. Breeding Pool is the weapon of choice here for Ryan. He's going to fall down to 14. Remember, he does have a copy of Death Shadow in hand. Reid knows that. Ryan wants to get low enough that he can actually deploy one. He's going to draw 2 cards, one from the Bauble trigger, one for his draw step. Picked up a Forest among those cards. You see a basic Swamp in his hand as well.
Yeah, this is a lot of lands for the Death Shadow deck.
Yeah, for this deck, that is quite a few. He's going to cycle a Street Wraith here. Going to fall down to 12 now, Will Hovis. Stubborn Denial is a card that he has found. That's part of the appeal of playing the Sultai color combination. Green and black, pretty ubiquitous amongst these decks. But blue sometimes is an add-on. We've seen 4-color versions this weekend. We have seen Obzon versions this weekend. We've seen Brad Nelson and Sean O'Shaughnessy playing a Grixis take. So you can't really go any ways you want to. Kind of the mainstay here are those lands. the Ravnica Shocklands.
Well, yeah, for sure. But we've also seen the kind of the 4-color version.
There's Death Shadow.
And it's going to be protected
This go around.
by that Stubborn Denial.
Yep. Let's go over to Reid Duke now. Reid will untap and draw. So he's got a Scavenging Ooze. And Reid doesn't know much of the contents of Ryan's hand now at this point. He knew about the Death Shadow from much earlier. Now here's the Liana of the Veil. And that's a Stubborn Denial. So that'll take care of the very powerful Planeswalker. Timely counterspell.
Yeah, very timely.
That's a card you can mention. Could be an MVP in this matchup here for Reid, but it's got to resolve in order for it to be effective. Looks like Traverse the Uvenwald may have been the draw here for Hovis.
All right, and he's where he wants to be with that card, too.
Now we got Creature in Street Wraith, Artifact and Bauble, lands plenty, and now an instant in Stubborn Denial. So he's going to play a Forest, and now he will go a Traversing, it appears. Yep.
Deciding on a card. What are we thinking? Another Death Shadow?
Death Shadow Tarmogoyf, really. I mean, that's obvious to say, but I would lean towards Death Shadow being the better of the two cards.
Yeah, the Goyf runs into problems against that Scavenging Ooze. That Snapcaster Mage can also run into problems from that Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, well, that Fatal Push doesn't care about that.
Or he already has the removal spell for it.
Well, Ryan's opening hand wasn't great, but his draw steps sure have been cooperative.
Yeah, Ryan, you couldn't just cast the Fatal Push first? make the analysis a little easier for us?
Yeah, no kidding. Snapcaster Mage in hand now for Hovis. Has the ability to recast Traverse if he'd like.
Yep.
Also has access to Stubborn Denial and Fatal Push, but not this turn. He's only got 2 mana available. And now Duke's got some thinking to do.
And it's also just, this insurance policy against another Liliana of the Veil. If Reid wants to play a Lily here and minus it, the Snapcaster Mage can come down, get no value out of the graveyard, but still just suck it up. Leave the Death Shadow on the board.
True. I'm sure when Reid cast that Inquisition of Kozilek, he looked at that hand and said, all right, I can handle this.
Yeah, he liked his spot there.
Yeah, I can manage this opening hand.
But a lot has changed since then.
Yeah, a couple turns. A couple draw steps. That's a Fatal Push.
All right, that's a good start.
Yeah. Duke has 4 of those this weekend and only 2 copies of Lightning Bolt. Do remember that. Part of the reason is because Death Shadow is such a powerful card. Got to make sure you can cleanly kill it. Bloodstained Mire here for Reid, and he will simply pass the turn back over to Ryan. Ryan will draw a card. 3 cards in hand right now. Swamp and Snapcaster Mage among them. And it looks like he picked up a copy of Maelstrom Pulse. It's not Hovis to rearrange the lands and figure out exactly how he wants to go about moving forward. He'll start by playing a Swamp.
Yeah, I expect to see the Snapcaster Mage traverse here.
Here is Snapcaster Mage. He will target Traverse the Uvenwald, and he will attempt to resolve it. See a little bit of back and forth here between the two players. We'll see if this is going to actually get the opportunity to go here, as Reid does have a Lightning Bolt in hand. And Duke will sacrifice his Bloodstained Mire. Curious to see what's going on here. Stomping Ground. Going to get that untapped, will Reid. So he's going to fall a little bit lower to 10. Life total's currently in Duke's favor.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're looking at. He has Kolaghan's Command at 3.
Well, here is Kolaghan's Command. And okay, so he's going to Kolaghan's Command. He's going to make Ryan discard a card, which was Maelstrom Pulse, and he wanted to return Scavenging Ooze because it does such a nice job against the graveyard. Now, he can't stop the Traverse. But if Tarmogoyf works its way into the equation, he can control that a little bit better.
Well, I kind of would have guessed that Reid would wait with that play.
Okay.
Not give Ryan that extra information about what was going on there. But I guess Reid was potentially scared of another 1 casting cost spell.
Well, we head back Duke's way. Olivia Voldaren in hand now, along with Scavenging Ooze, Lightning Bolt, and a couple mystery cards. See where the 7th seed here in our Baltimore Modern Open wants to go. It's got a lot of decisions to make, and we have seen Olivia be very powerful before, Craig.
This is a pretty good one.
1 Reid a game that we watched earlier in the day, all by herself, did Olivia. Death Shadow's going to come in. Duke will fall down to 6. Death Shadow currently at 4/4. And that's all Hovis can do on the turn. Inquisition to Kozilek's going to reveal a land there.
Oof.
Here's an attack for 6. Is this double Lightning Bolt? Let's see. Yes. Yes, the 2 Lightning Bolts in combination with Olivia. Going to get the job done here for Reid Duke as he's going to win game number 1 over Ryan Hovis. Jund kind of steals a game there maybe from Sultai Death Shadow.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to have to be kind of careful over the next couple of turns about how he navigated that game, but he drew the 2nd Lightning Bolt and was able to just win.
Yeah, if you've played against or with Jund enough in Modern, you know that sometimes those Lightning Bolts will be removal spells, but sometimes they're just game winners.
Yeah.
Which can be a frustrating way to take a loss, but can also be a good way to take a win, which is what Reid Duke just did right there. Let's take a look at the sideboards. We will start with Hovis and his Sultai Death Shadow deck. Here come the 2s and 1s. 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Collective Brutality, 2 Ceremonious Rejection, 2 Flaying Tendrils, 2 Fulminator Mage. And the 1-ofs here in Go for the Throat, Golgari Charm, Nihil Spellbomb, and another copy of Stubborn Denial. Craig, what stands out?
A couple of these 1-ofs seem like they're pretty good in this matchup. The Go for the Throat, the Nihil Spellbomb is going to be strong at attacking Reid's graveyard, and the Stubborn Denial seems like a goodie to me.
Additional copies of Stubborn Denial could be good. The first one in that game that we watched, obviously pretty important to Liliana. No, it didn't get Ryan the win, but at Liliana Resolve, I think the game may have ended on the spot.
Yeah.
So being able to keep that off the battlefield, pretty important stuff as we go to Reid and his 3 Fulminator Mages, 2 Collective Brutalities, 2 Kitchen Finks, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Leyline of the Void, 2 Shatterstorm, 2 Ancient Grudge, 1 Shatterstorm, and then a copy of Grim Lavamancer. Anything standing out here to you?
It depends on how grindy Reid thinks this matchup is going to be. I see maybe these Kitchen Finks coming in. They're great at blocking the fatties that come out of the other side, buffering his life total a little bit, and giving him the time that he needs to control the game.
Leyline of the Void, any interest there?
That's a tough one. It's good on the first turn, but it's very awkward drawn in the mid game. You might not want to take a turn off to cast it.
Yeah.
And the graveyard's already established.
Yeah, there's some high impact if you're able to start the game with it, I
yes.
think. You know, we're talking about a deck that has Tarmogoyf, only 2 Snapcaster Mages for Ryan, where you might normally see 4 of them, so he's not reliant on Snapcaster Mage, but it also does a nice job of turning off Traverse.
Yep.
So maybe we'll see that from Reid, maybe not. You know, he does have access to Ryan's deck list, because we are in the elimination rounds here, so deck lists are public information, and these players will review it, and we'll be curious to see if Reid does sideboard in the powerful enchantment. In the meantime, Ryan going to be on the play here. He's trying to keep his spirits up as he goes back to the drawing board. We will keep your spirits up with the StarCityGames.com weekly sale, which is going to end Monday at 10:59 a.m. Go to StarCityGames.com/weekly sale. You can browse and get, if you'd like, up to 60% off select Ultra Pro products. Now, I know this is the last time we're going to talk about the weekly sale here this weekend.
Yep.
This is your wife's last chance, man.
No, she called me earlier just to confirm my order.
That was close. Because had you not gotten anything, we would have had to have a talk.
I mean, what do you think the chances are that I wouldn't get anything?
I didn't. Low. Very low.
Very low.
But I just wanted to make sure. I know you've been eyeing up that Grizzlebrand deck box.
She takes care of me.
I knew she would. I knew she would. New sale beginning Monday. That's tomorrow, 11 a.m. East Coast time. Go to StarCityGames.com/weekly sale for more information about that. As we get ready here for game number 2, players are done looking over each other's deck lists. Looks like they've sideboarded. They're going to shuffle up, get ready to battle here. So let's learn a little bit more about Reid Duke, 27-year-old from Sugarloaf, New York. This is his 9th Open top 8. He's got 5 wins. We've talked about that conversion rate multiple times. 5 invitational top 8s, 1 win in Los Angeles a couple of years ago. Got the pleasure of casting that one. He's a Legend of Zelda fan. He beat A Link to the Past without dying or using a fairy even once. I am curious about how he's done in Breath of the Wild.
Sure, that's what we're all wondering.
Yeah, I want to know if he's able to beat that game so easily. He worked several years as an assistant to a jeweler, and he was the guest host of the 2008 Sugarloaf Awards, which was somehow almost 10 years ago now, because time flies when you're having fun and you're winning as much as Reid does.
Is that where he met his wife, Beyonce?
Probably, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's not Reid Duke?
They're easy to confuse the two.
Oh, okay.
Easy to confuse the two. Misty Rainforest here for Ryan Hovis. That's where things will begin for game number 2. For Reid, it's a Blooming Marsh and an Inquisition of Kozilek. Going to start things off with a powerful discard spell. A couple copies of Tarmogoyf, a Liliana Last Hope. A couple of lands over there for Ryan Hovis.
Fulminator Mage.
A little surprised
Me too.
to see that in after sideboard. Little surprised. 2 copies on the board here for Hovis.
Maybe he's thinking on the play.
Get him.
Yeah.
Slow him down a little bit. Hovis will sacrifice a Misty Rainforest here. He's going to search up a land.
And we've talked about how the Planeswalkers are some of the most troublesome cards to get off the board in these types of matchups. Reid not even worried about the double Goyfs. Go straight for the Planeswalker.
Yeah, I mean, with how his deck is constructed, right, he's got so much removal with those Fatal Pushes, Terminates, Abrupt Decays.
Whoops.
Showing Fatal Pushes. Unbelievable, this Reid Duke.
Just shady.
Yeah.
Just shady
work.
work.
I can't believe that. Now he's got information that Ryan left in Fatal Push against him.
Captain America ain't so pure after all.
I'm sure there's some alternate storyline where Captain America's a bad guy.
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah.
I want to be able to always have the same level of faith and trust in Captain America that I have in our government.
Okay. Well, certainly sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Here's a Tarmogoyf from Ryan as we head over to Reid. We'll see what Duke can put together for his second turn.
We've got a little Tarmo die at the top of the screen.
That's right.
Imagine someone confusing a Tarmo die with something completely ridiculous.
Which I don't know if that could ever happen.
I don't know what it would be.
Me either. But if that does happen, you'll be the first person I let know.
All right.
That something so obscure could happen. As here's a Dark Confidant. One of these 2 drops is better than the other. We'll find out which over the course of this game. Not sure which one. For Ryan, that Goyf is a 3/4. He picked up a copy of Stubborn Denial. There is old Bobby, Dark Confidant.
This is a little refreshing. There was a point where it seemed like Tarmogoyf's time in the sun might have passed.
Yeah, with like the Grim Flayers running around and some other stuff, but
Not even Grim Flayer, just a lot of value decks, that controlling decks. I think the Death Shadow variants really brought it back into the limelight.
well, if it had faded any, it's certainly back now. Here's Tarmogoyf from Reid. Does he have another land? He does in Raging Ravine. And now we'll have a Tarmogoyf stare down potentially as Hovis will untap and take a draw. He'll cycle Street Wraith. He'll draw a card. Goyfs are now 4/5s. What's next here from Mr. Hovis? Stubborn Denial in hand. That's probably the most important card, especially because the Goyfs now have made that Stubborn Denial ferocious. We know about the Fulminator Mage.
Yep, we still know about the Fulminator Mage.
Polluted Delta will be sacrificed here.
And he wants to be aggressive here, facing down a Dark Confidant, just not let Reid draw a bunch of extra cards throughout this game. But he also has to be careful. You know, he sends in both Goyfs. He's dealt himself a bunch of damage already. So, you know, it could just be a swing back from Reid plus a Lightning Bolt to take the game.
We saw it in the first one.
Yeah, so he's got to walk a fine line here.
We got our first update here, folks, as Hovis will continue his turn. Brad Nelson going to win his match over Todd Stevens, 2-0. Grixis Death Shadow, just too much for Todd Stevens and his Eldrazi Tron deck to overcome. So for Stevens, it's his 8th SCG Tour top 8. He's gotten a lot of work done with Eldrazi Tron, but that title still evades him. As Brad Nelson moves on to our semifinals, he'll play the winner of Jacob Haversat and Craig Berry. Craig Krempels is 1 for 1 in predictions here.
Ding.
Tarmogoyf was double blocked
I like that.
by Dark Confidant and Tarmogoyf, an exchange that Reid was willing to make. So Tarmogoyf down for Hovis, Dark Confidant down for Duke, and now we have Tarmogoyf stare off, and Duke continuing with his 4th turn of the game.
Yeah, and with Ryan not able to continue attacking, you know, 2 Goyfs just bumping into each other, taxing the lands on Reid doesn't look very good.
Here comes Tarmogoyf.
The tables have turned.
Yeah, Reid's willing to turn up the heat a little bit here. Again, you got to remember that last game we just watched. The Lightning Bolts were involved, giving Reid the reach he needed to get the job done with Olivia Valderin. Now here's another Tarmogoyf.
Yep. That's what I expected after the first one attacked.
Yeah. Big draw here for Hovis. He's able to find a fatal push. He can keep attacking. But thus far, what he's been missing is something to effectively do with Stubborn Denial. Now, he's just going to play a Polluted Delta and pass the turn back, so all of a sudden, he's got to buckle down.
Yep. It's looking rough for him. He might just lose this game with 2 Stubborn Denials stuck in his hand.
Looks like Reid's ready to roll in. There's a block. Hovis is going to fall down to 3. What's the follow-up? It's a Scavenging Ooze. Ryan's going to fall down to 2. He needs a good one. Snapcaster Mage might be the best place for him to start, but he needs a real good card here.
Traverse would be very solid.
Yeah, can't hate that.
Traverse, get Snapcaster, Traverse again, play a Death Shadow.
I think he's got enough mana to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'd be 5, yeah.
Then he's leaving himself exposed.
Dead to removal spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know, if that's the line, that's the line.
Big draw step. Didn't get a great look at it. Bobble. Target himself. And he will concede the game. Reid Duke going to win this match here over Ryan Hovis. 2-0. The power of Tarmogoyf and Lightning Bolt and Jund, much too difficult for Sultai's Death Shadow to handle. And now Craig Krempels is doing finger guns and is 2-0 with his predictions. Even though you can't see the finger guns, you can do them for the audience now if you'd like. No?
What are you talking about?
No, you don't want to? No finger guns? Okay.
We'll just make it up. I'll do it.
That's what I'm doing.
I'll do it for you.
That's what I'm doing. Okay, you're going to do it for me. There, yeah. That's the first time he's done this. He hasn't done this before when he found out that Brad won and watched Reid win. Yeah, 2-0 with predictions. We do know that our other matches, they are off camera right now. They are actually playing, I believe, between Craig Berry with his Scape Shift deck against Jacob Haversat with Amulet Titan, and then Ben Friedman playing Dredge against James O'Shaughnessy playing Grixis Death Shadow. We might have a Brad Nelson Reid Duke collision course here, folks.
Oh, man.
Opposite sides of the bracket.
Just 2 Titans.
All right, we have a boy, that's tough. That is tough. Jacob Haversat.
A little sour.
going to win his match here over Craig Berry.
And I changed my pick, too.
You did change your pick. You can't see it at home, but initially Craig had picked Amulet Titan.
Unbelievable.
Now, that's I'm going to go ahead and keep scratching out. I'm going to keep scratching that out there for you.
Unbelievable.
It's actually really believable.
That's what I get. That's what I get.
Friedman versus James O'Shaughnessy is our last match. They're actually playing game number 2 right now, so we're going to see if they do go to game number 3. If they do, we'll head that way. If not, we won't. But let's. What do you think's going to happen here between Nelson and Haversack with Grixis, Death Shadow, and Amulet Titan? Any guesses?
I think I like the Grixis Death Shadow deck here. Brad has some disruption. The discard spells. He can get on the board with a fatty kind of quick, and then Snapcaster Mage for additional disruption. I like it. And Brad is just one of the best players in the room.
Yep.
It's so tough to pick against someone like that, and we've seen him navigate this deck just expertly.
He knows what he's doing with that deck.
Yeah.
He's played Death Shadow variants quite a bit, has an invitational top 8 to his name with Death Shadow. This is a top 8 now at an SCG Tour Open with the deck, so he's very comfortable with the strategy.